The Silver and Black hosted their mock game at Allegiant Stadium on Saturday, now turn their attention to actually a game week. Preseason game number 1 comes up this week versus Seattle Seahawks. That plus more on Monday's edition of the Locked On Raiders podcast for August 4th, 2025.
You are Locked On Raiders, your daily Las Vegas Raiders podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome here, Raider Nation, to another edition of the Locked On Raiders podcast. Thank you so much for making the show your first listen of the day. We definitely appreciate you. If you're catching the show wherever you find your favorite podcast or you're checking us out by way of our YouTube page, you know we appreciate both. Show continues to grow each and every day because of your consistent support and the great job that my man Ari does behind the scenes, making sure we look good and sound good each and every day on the YouTube page. So we shout him out. We appreciate him. He's on Twitter at Ari Produces. You can hit me up as well at your boy Q254. And if you want to be a part of the show, as many of you do, got the Locked On Raider podcast voicemail line for you at 707-654-4693. We'll close out the show as we normally do, hearing from you. Calls, texts, a lot of great subjects, including the mock game that took place on Saturday at Allegiant Stadium. So we'll do that. Segment number 3. Segment number 2, we'll talk about the practice, talk about who stood out, what stood out, and the most significant part of actually having that mock game that they had at Allegiant Stadium. You'll hear briefly from head coach Pete Carroll as well. We'll do that in segment number 2. Here in segment number 1, news and notes of the day. We'll jump right into it after I tell you about the title sponsor of this show, and that is Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Now, off top, this is some news that I found out on Friday, and it really kind of gave me a gut punch, man. I was at the Raiders practice facility on Friday, and I happened to look down and check Twitter and see that Greg Papa, the longtime voice of the Silver and Black, is going through a battle with cancer. And that's something that doesn't discriminate. It doesn't matter about your tax bracket. It doesn't matter what you look like, what your beliefs are. That thing comes for everybody. That was one of those that just kind of takes the breath out of you when you see it and read it because, well, it's just the last thing that you're expecting to read, right? And I was expecting to see Papa coming up. Matter of fact, in a couple of weeks, he's going to be here, or the 49ers are going to be here for their preseason game number 2. And, of course, they're going to have a joint practice as well. So I was looking forward to that. Just saw him in Indianapolis at the scouting combine, and it's crazy, man. So many times I run into people and they'll hit me up and say, hey, man, let's catch up, have a couple drinks after your show or after my show. Let's catch up, hit me up, and we'll link up. And I always say, okay, no problem. And 99% of the time, it doesn't happen for one reason or the other. But in Indianapolis at the scouting combine, I actually did catch up with Papa after my show, and I'm glad that I did. I spent some time with him, was able to just, kind of pick his brain, and always love to hear from him and talk to him. And, to actually know that I'm on a friend basis with him, where he's a guy that for the longest I just looked up to, and I was like, man, that guy's so cool. The voice of the Silver and Black. And, back in the Bay when the Raiders returned in 95, the NFL still had that stupid blackout rule where the league, you had to have the game sold out. I think it was 72 hours before kickoff. And if it wasn't sold out by then it would be blacked out locally. So most of the time, if you didn't go somewhere, and a lot of times my dad would drive me somewhere where I could actually watch the game on TV out of the local area. But when we didn't, it'd be by listening to the radio, and I would hear Greg Papa. So really, I mean, everything that I would envision about that game, he did it perfectly. He was my guy. I mean, he was the guy that I think about, just growing up and listening to the game. Even when I go out on the boat with my dad and we'd go fishing, I'd be listening to the Raider game, and it was Greg Papa that I was listening to. So, I saw that. He actually put an announcement out by way of KMBR on Twitter. He said, I'll just read a piece of it. He says, hi there, everyone. Greg Papa here, host of KMBR Sports Leader, Papa and Silver, and voice of the San Francisco 49ers. Want to share some personal news with the Bay Area sports fans and my friends and colleagues. I've been diagnosed with cancer and am currently undergoing treatment. As I fully focus on my treatment and work toward a full recovery, I'm stepping away from my broadcast, but look forward to returning soon. So he goes on to talk about who's going to, take over for him while he's gone. But that's the most significant part. And, once a Raider, always a Raider as far as I'm concerned. Greg Papa is a guy that, like I said, is not only special to me, but I know is special to a lot of Raider Nation. So if prayer is something that you believe in, the Papas could definitely use your prayer these days. So, shout out to Greg Papa and his family as he goes through this battle with cancer. I did want to update you on an injury that took place as well at the mock game on Saturday. Lonnie Johnson Jr., safety, a guy that's actually been having a really good training camp. Looked like he got rolled up on, had a right leg injury, was carted off. You could see immediately as soon as the injury happened, you could see the reaction from the players. I was in the press box at the time when it happened. You could just see the players, the way that they're walking around. You could see the way that Lonnie was hitting his helmet, that he knew was a pretty significant injury. He suffered a broken fibula at practice on Saturday. This is from Jeremy Fowler from ESPN. He said the 6-year vet is getting an MRI to determine if it has any additional damage, but he was in the mix for a rotational role in Vegas. So, broken fibula is what Lonnie Johnson Jr. suffered on Saturday at the mock game. And again, a guy that had just been making a bunch of plays throughout the course of training camp. And it's wild because on Friday on my show, Unnecessary Roughness on Raider Nation Radio 920, I was talking about guys that are flying kind of under the radar that we think have a chance to make an impact. And that was one of my guys. I picked Ian Thomas from the tight end position, Lonnie Johnson Jr., and also Greedy Vance. Those were the three guys. But Lonnie Johnson Jr., I just talked about him on Friday because I kept saying all he's doing in practice is just making plays. Somehow, some way, you look up and all of a sudden you see there's Lonnie Johnson Jr. making another play. And again, he was a guy that looked healthy. He was flying around there. And there's a lot of guys on this Raiders, especially on this Raiders defense, that have an opportunity to, kind of get their career back on track, right? For if you're looking at Jamal Adams, obviously Lonnie Johnson Jr. was in the mix there. Eric Stokes is in the mix there, right? There's certain guys that have chances to really make an impact, and I thought Lonnie Johnson Jr. was going to do that as well. Again, we don't know the severity, if there's any more additional damage, but it's obviously going to sideline Lonnie Johnson Jr., and that's a shame. But that was the one big injury that took place on Saturday at the mock game. But let's get into the mock game. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about the significance. We'll also hear from head coach Pete Carroll. We'll do that in segment number 2 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. Before we get to that, though, I do want to tell you about one of the great sponsors here on this show, and that's the 5-Hour Energy Transfusion. Time to fuel up and turn up with 5-Hour Energy Transfusion. It brings the bold grape ginger and lime flavor of your favorite golf drink, minus alcohol, into a quick, energizing shot. Whether you're sinking birdies or just making memories with friends, this one's a hole-in-one for your energy game. And let's be honest, some days on the course or off of it, you need that extra boost to stay sharp and energized. I am not a golf dude. Every once in a while, I might try to get my flex on, maybe at Top Golf or Mini Golf, and try to get my Tiger Woods on. I'm really there for laughs, right? If you need a guy to help make you laugh or keep the mood light, yeah, I'm that guy. If you want to have a guy that's real serious and he's going to, make your golf game better and you're going to go win a tournament, yeah, you probably don't want to call me. But we all know golf is all about good times with good people and good flavors, of course. The grape ginger lime flavor gives you the best parts of your clubhouse go-to without chasing down the beverage cart. So if you go to 5hourenergy.com today, that's the number 5hourenergy.com, you can use the promo code LOCKEDONGOLF to receive 20% off your order. The offer is only valid until September 30th on one order and cannot be used with other promotions. The code is not good on subscription orders. So whether you're meeting up with friends or trying to turn 18 holes into 36, get the energizing boost you need to power through. Order transfusion flavor 5-Hour Energy shots today. All right, Raider Nation, here we go. Segment number 2 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. Cut segment number 1 a little bit short because I wanted to get some extra time here to talk about the mock game that took place on Saturday at Allegiant Stadium. And first and foremost, man, it was great to see Raider Nation out there being able to be in Allegiant Stadium and kind of go through a game day routine. And it was great to, see a lot of fans and be able to talk to a lot of fans. And, man, I'll tell you, so many people recognize me from this show right there. And that's why I say at the top of the show all the time, like, your continuous support of the show and you telling other people about the show is why this thing continues to grow. And so I really do appreciate that. You don't understand how much it means when I'm able to shake hands and just chop it up and talk some Raider football with Raider Nation. It's awesome. It really is. There was actually a time, no joke, we were on the field and we were talking to head coach Pete Carroll. We got a chance to talk to Jalen Smith, Zamir White, Sincere McCormick, a couple players like that. And somebody from, somebody listens to the show recognized me and yelled at me. So I went over and started talking, and then somebody asked me for an autograph. So I was like, all right, well, might as well do it. So I gave him an autograph, and then it just turned into like a bunch. So I ended up signing a bunch of autographs. I'm sure right now there's some kid that's going to wake up and look at his like Brock Bowers jersey or his Max Crosby jersey. He's like, who is this Q guy? Q Myers, R&R 920. what position does he actually play? So, and I'm sure their dad's gonna be like, well, actually, that's the radio dude and the podcast guy. But whatever, it was a lot of fun. Again, it's always great to chop it up with Raider Nation. So first and foremost, definitely appreciate being able to hang out with Raider Nation. It makes me look forward to the upcoming season as well. What we're able to do at the Coors Light Landing before the games, and that's where everyone goes to hang out. So if you haven't been to a game, or if you plan on coming this year, make sure you give yourself some extra time so you can spend some time just chopping it up with Raider Nation at the Coors Light Landing right next to the Al Davis Torch. Always a lot of fun. Let's get into the game. And before we start, talking about what I saw and what stood out to me, let's hear from head coach Pete Carroll. It's really short. It was tough to hear because we were on the field and there was a lot of music. It was really loud. But here's a few seconds of what Pete Carroll had to say following practice. One is about the injury to Lonnie Johnson, and then the other is about the game day routine and how significant that was.
Any initial report on Lonnie Johnson's injury? He's got a lower leg injury. I don't know all of the details right now, but it's significant.
How important was it to go through a game day rule and get everybody going like they would on a normal game day?
I don't know how you guys can appreciate, but there's so many things that we accomplished by having this game. It's not the playing on the field as much as the preparation, the orchestration of it, the routines that the guys have to get into. I wanted to teach them as soon as we could, so this thing worked out great.
So there's head coach Pete Carroll, and you heard how he talked about Lonnie Johnson injury being significant. We found out on Sunday that it was a broken fibula, so of course we'll end up hearing more at some stage of the game, probably a little bit later on today. But I asked the question about the game day routine, and that to me was what's most important. And you heard Pete Carroll say it's not even about what's going on the field, but it's the fact that they're trying to prepare these guys for an actual game, right? And people always ask me like, well, how was this training camp different than last training camp? Well, this is one of them, right? And this is going back to the experience that head coach Pete Carroll has, that he knows we've got to get these guys into the mindset of what it's like on game day. What do you do? What do you do when you get to the stadium? What time do you get there? When do you start getting getting dressed, putting your pads on? When do you go to stretch and everything? And that's what he was talking about, right? Getting them in a game day routine. And look, this week, they have a game, right? Coming up on Thursday is preseason game number 1 against Seattle. And it's funny, I spent a whole podcast talking about the calendar, the Raiders training camp calendar. Today is actually going to be practice number 10. It starts at 10 a.m. this morning. It's actually competition Wednesday. Now, we all know it's Monday, but it's competition Wednesday. It being a game week and preseason game on Thursday, so you can do the math, right? And then, of course, what would be if you say today's Wednesday, then Thursday, Friday, Saturday, then the game's going to be on Saturday. They'll have their off day on Sunday. So they're preparing for a week, right? Every single one of these days has a new title to it. The competition Wednesday starts today. Then they'll have a turnover Thursday coming up tomorrow, right? I mean, that's when all the themes that I've talked about actually start is today. But they've just been really trying to set these guys up to be in like basically being able to hit the ground running when the season starts. As far as the play on the field, there were some really good plays there, and I think the Raider Nation was pretty pleased with what they saw, especially from the offense. Geno Smith, he looks like he's locked in. I know that there's days that I'll come back from practice and say, oh, Geno got picked by this guy, Geno got picked by that guy, but Geno looks like he's picking up this Chip Kelly offense really well. He had 4 drives and 4 touchdowns on Saturday, right? And that's not saying that he's just slicing through the defense, but he just looks really good. It looks like he's understanding the offense. Brock Bowers picking up where he left off his rookie year. Geno and Brock on the same page. Big Mike heavily involved. Remember last year, all we kept hearing is, man, the Raiders are going to run that 12 personnel. That's all we heard, right? They beat 12 personnel into our heads. And guess what we saw? No 12 personnel. You know what we're seeing? 12 personnel. And remember, what we're seeing in practice on the mock game on Saturday at Allegiant Stadium, it's vanilla. It's dumbed down. It's not like they're just emptying the clip and emptying the whole playbook and the play sheet on the field there. They're really kind of, vanillaing everything up, dumbing it down. And that's what they'll do during the preseason. They're not going to get all exotic and show everybody what they can do and put it on film before the season even starts. But, man, the combination of Brock Bowers, he had multiple touchdowns on Saturday. Big Mike had some really good plays. It just looks like Geno is locked in. And the other thing about Geno Smith, and this is something I was talking about when I was walking out of Allegiant Stadium on Saturday to multiple people, Geno has legs. Geno is a guy who ran an RPO right at the end of the game. He ran an RPO and got into the end zone, right? They were going for 2, and he was able to do that. He kept it and got into the corner of the end zone. And why is that significant? Because you have to honor that. If you're a defense, you have to know that they can do that. Now, I don't expect to see Geno Smith running a bunch of RPOs and running around the yard. He's not that guy, but he can do that. And so now defenses have to prepare and realize that, hey, that's an element, that's a wrinkle that they can use if they so choose to. The offensive line, we're always going to look at the competition there. Jordan Meredith was back at center. JPJ, right guard. That was the first string offensive line. It was Miller at left tackle, Parham at left guard, Meredith at the center, JPJ at the right guard, and DJ Glaze at the right tackle. So the way it stands right now, and look, it's a game week. Seattle will start to see something coming up on Thursday, and I'm assuming that some of these guys, if not all of those guys, at least on the offensive line, are going to get some burn in this preseason game number 1. It's starting to look like Jordan Meredith is earning that center spot, and JPJ might be that right guard moving forward, right? And again, that doesn't mean that that's going to stay that way, but that's how it was again on Saturday during the mock game. So that's something to pay attention to for sure. But again, the offense, I thought the offense looked really good. I feel like that they have just the right mix when it comes to the running game. The passing game looks like it's going to be very solid. Jacoby Myers is still doing Jacoby Myers type things. He gets open and makes catches, right? Thornton had a nice touchdown catch in the game, found a way to just get open and kind of scramble a little bit, and boom, he was able to get into the end zone, and Geno was able to hit him. There's a lot of good offense being put on film, and again, it's still very vanilla. As far as like the secondary, I thought that they did a good job of making life very difficult on Aiden O'Connell, and this is the first string secondary. I mean, there were so many times where O'Connell had to take off and run, and he's not going to really take off and run, but he just tried to keep plays alive because the secondary just didn't give him any place to throw the ball, right? There was a few would-be sacks on Aiden O'Connell, including Max Crosby having a strip sack. It was really like a takeaway. It's basically like he bullied him and was like, give me this ball, I'm taking it. And he took off the other way about 70 yards, got a touchdown, spiked it over the goalpost, which was kind of cool to see. But why is that significant, right? Not only was it significant because he took the ball away from Aiden O'Connell, but that's something that I've been talking about, and that's something that I believe Max Crosby has been working on, is that element of his game. We know he can get to the quarterback, sack the quarterback, get the pressures. We know what kind of player he is. We know he's really good against the run. He's developed that into his on his tool belt as well. But he hasn't been a guy that's been, forcing a lot of fumbles or creating a lot of takeaways. And now multiple times since camp, really, I mean, even going back to mandatory minicamp where he had a pick 6, and then he has this one where he's able to get to the end zone. I think that that's the next stage of the evolution of Max Crosby and his game. Again, his game is phenomenal, but that play that he made just kind of shows you that I think that there's attention to detail to not only get to the quarterback, but get to the ball. If he could add that to his game, that's going to be big. That's going to be a big part of what he does moving forward and helping this Raiders team create some turnovers. Again, because this is a team that necessarily is not the best team when it comes to creating turnovers. They don't always do that, right? And again, even just looking at interceptions last year, they had 10, and then they created 13 total turnovers. That's not gonna cut it, right? They've got to do a lot better job of that. So attention to detail, getting the ball. It was really great to see that from Max Crosby. But all in all, man, this just looks like a team that knows what they're doing. It seems like that they have a plan. They have it in place. They're going to work on certain elements of their game each and every day, and they're going to see how that either position group, that player, that's is it the first string, the ones, the twos, the threes, whatever, how they're going to go out there and compete. It just, everything makes sense the way that they're putting everything together. And again, going back to Q, what does this look like from training camp this year as opposed to last year? It seemed like that there was a lot of trying to figure it out last year on the fly, where this year it's as a matter of fact. All right, it's going to be done this way, that way, and the other. The other thing that I wanted to talk about, and this is something that, was brought to my attention. I'm blessed to be able to be out there at practice and talk to guys like Kirk Morrison all the time, who's going to be doing the color for the broadcast alongside Jason Horowitz. Looking forward to that this year because Captain Kirk is fantastic. But we always talk about what happened at practice and, this stood out. Well, remember, a lot of times that these guys go into practice, and Pete Carroll and Chip Kelly and Patrick Graham, they already have a plan in place. All right, hey, look, this is what we want to work on today. So let's go ahead and feed the ball to Big Mike and see, how the linebackers react, or, whatever the case may be. So sometimes if we come back and say, oh, man, the defense dominated, they made these plays, this, that, and the other, there also could be a plan in place to see if the defense can make those plays, right? So it's not always necessarily it's not like it's an actual football game, right? When they go out there and they compete and they have these practices, they're practicing certain things, and we aren't privy to knowing what those certain things are. So sometimes to the naked eye, it's like, oh, okay, well, this is who they were picking on the linebackers today. Were they, or were they just, trying to focus in on them to see how they react to certain circumstances? Like, that's something that we always have to keep in mind. So whenever you're out at practice, and especially since the Raiders have opened it up to allow so many fans at practice, you have to keep that in mind when you're watching it as well. Sometimes it's not necessarily exactly what you see because, again, they have a plan. And I believe this staff fully has a plan every single day that they come out to practice. But I could tell you, man, everybody I talked to, I got to catch up with Ian Thomas and Amari Gaynor on Friday. As a matter of fact, I was going to bring one of those conversations to the show today, just don't have enough time. These guys are fired up. They believe in the guy that's putting the plan together, and head coach Pete Carroll. Even a guy like Ian Thomas, who's a longtime vet, and a lot of people don't even know Ian Thomas because the last couple of years in Carolina he was injured. But man, when he's healthy, he's a really good tight end. And I mean, that tight end room that the Raiders had with Brock Bowers, Big Mike, Ian Thomas, and they got others as well, right? Kadir Ishmael's another one. Shorter's another guy that they got that can make plays. Like, they've got a pretty deep tight end room, very, very talented. So he's a guy that's going to make some plays for this team, right? He's been making plays since OTAs and mandatory minicamp. This is a room that you better watch out for. But talking to him on Friday, he was just saying how Pete keeps it fun but competitive. And then when they're really getting after it, and he sees that they're really getting after it and maybe even getting a little bit angry, then all of a sudden he'll be like, all right, let's go do this jump ball drill. Like something, some kind of competition that makes it fun. All right, now let's get back to practice. Like, just his balance that he has is just night and day from what I've seen around this Raiders team for a very long time. So today is practice number 10. As I mentioned, it's competition Wednesday. It's a game week. They're going to prepare for this game coming up on Thursday against the Seattle Seahawks. That's going to be preseason game number 1. And practice today is going to start at 10 a.m. So I don't know if that's going to be inside. I don't know if it's going to be outside. We'll find out. There's only been one indoor practice so far. I'm assuming that it's going to be indoors because it's a 10 a.m. practice start time. But that doesn't mean anything. That's just an assumption on my part. Again, does not mean anything. But all in all, man, I thought it was a really good showing on Saturday, and I think Raider Nation should be very encouraged by the team that is being assembled right now by head coach Pete Carroll. Tom Brady was in attendance to watch that. He's been at practice on Friday and on Saturday. He was there. Of course, GM John Spytek's always got a watchful eye over what's going on. And again, it looks like the people that are in place to make the decisions and put this team together, they all have a calm about themselves, and they all have a sense of, yes, we know what we're doing, and this is how we're going to do it. So again, Raider Nation, I think you should be very encouraged by what you're seeing and what you're hearing about the silver and black. Coming up in segment number 3, what's on your mind? Your calls and texts, 707-654-4693. We'll close out hearing from you. Before we get to that, though, I do want to tell you about the title sponsor of the show, and that is Gametime. Have you ever decided at the last minute to head to a game with friends or family? Maybe it's game day and you suddenly realize you want to be in the stands. That's exactly where Gametime comes in. It's the easiest way to grab last-minute tickets without the stress. With the money you save on tickets, you can splurge on food, drinks, merchandise, or even invite a bigger group to go with you. Gametime makes it possible. Gametime makes buying tickets fast and simple. Prices on the app actually drop the closer you get to the first pitch, and they've got incredibly great last-minute deals, clear seat views, and a lowest price guarantee that takes the worry out of buying tickets. And it's funny, the only person I know that gets last-minute tickets better than Gametime is my guy Vegas Jess. If you're not Vegas Jess, you're going to need Gametime. Gametime is the official ticketing partner of Locked On Major League Baseball, Locked On NFL, and it makes it easy to browse the app for exciting upcoming MLB games and even NFL games. So right now, take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, create the account, use the promo code LOCKEDONNFL. That's LOCKEDON NFL for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Here we go, Raider Nation. Segment number 3 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. Your calls and texts straight off that Locked On Raider podcast voicemail line, 707-654-4693. We'll actually start off with a text. This one comes from North Texas Raider. What's up, Q? North Texas Raider. I just want to say, outside the game themselves, I'm very excited to listen to Kirk Morrison in his new position. I heard him today on some random Raiders podcast that popped up on YouTube. Bro, when he talks about being the new color commentator, he sounds like he's been given some amazing gift. Dude sounds so excited. As a fan of his for years, I'm very excited for him. He's a sharp guy, and we're lucky to have him as one of our voices. As always, love what you do for the nation. North Texas Raider out. Yeah, that was I think the podcast he was on was with Jesse Merrick. Jesse Merrick used to be here in Las Vegas at News 3, but now he's starting his own thing. And, I'll probably have Jesse on my radio show coming up just to talk about his new venture that he's got going on and definitely cheer him on. And, yeah, I mean, Kirk is fired up. I mean, think about it. Kirk is a Raider fan, right? He's an Oakland native. He's a Raider fan. He was a Raider player, right? I mean, he bleeds silver and black, right? I mean, so yeah, I mean, this opportunity for him is fantastic. And I say it all the time. I've told him and I've told others that, I've learned a lot from listening to Kirk, right? And he's been on many different broadcasts, at ESPN when it comes to Division III football championship games. I've heard him on the broadcast there, done radio shows with him. I mean, man, the dude is a wealth of knowledge. So, yeah, I mean, the Raiders have some great alumni, and to have Captain Kirk going up there with Jason Horowitz is going to be a really good broadcast. Definitely looking forward to that as well. So thanks for the text. Definitely appreciate you. Up next, got a call from Alan in Canada. He's calling to talk about the offensive line and who in general I expect this team to keep. Here he is, Alan from Canada.
Hello, Alan from Canada here. Question I have for you is about the offensive line. Whatever the starters are, it looks like Colton Miller, Dylan Parham, Jackson Powers Johnson, Alex Kappa, DJ Glaze, maybe Jordan Meredith. They're going to keep Charles Grant and Caleb Rogers for sure, and probably Thayer Munford for their 9. Are there what would be the next one or two guys that are competing for a spot on the roster, in your opinion? Just curious if those are the 9 you think they'll keep as well. And lastly, I would just like to thank you for all you do. Love your show. I love that you called out AP many times for the culture changes he did last year. I really loved him as well. And I had the same thoughts as you. That really, he knew what he wanted, just not how to get it. Rookie mistakes. But anyways, love your show and really want to hear your thoughts on the offensive line. Thanks a lot. Have a good one. Cheers.
Big Alan, thanks so much for the call. Appreciate you. Appreciate the compliments on the show as well. Colton Miller, Dylan Parham, Jordan Meredith, JPJ, and DJ Glaze. That's the starting 5 right now as it stands, right? Doesn't mean it's going to be the starting 5 on Thursday. Doesn't mean it's going to be the starting 5 when the season starts. But as it stands right now, those are the starting 5. They started on Saturday at the mock game. So that's 5 right there. Then you've got Grant, Rogers, Kappa, Wagner, Munford, right? I think that's another 5 right there. I mean, you're looking at 10 dudes right there between tackles and guards that you can see this Raiders team keeping. Guys like Hufford, Putnam, Clements, Gottlieb, those are all probably guys that are considered for the practice squad, but I would consider those 10 that I ran through. I think that those guys are the ones. Maybe Wagner is fighting for a spot. Dalton Wagner is a big dude, a big tackle, but often injured. So maybe it's 9, as you mentioned, but I guess I think you have it, pretty spot on, right? And right now, again, like I said, starting 5 would be Miller, Parham, Meredith, JPJ, and Glaze. So that's kind of how it looks like right now. But man, it's funny. And I was talking to Kirk Morrison on Friday, and we were talking about the numbers game, and like, man, you start talking about you keep 9 or 10 here, you keep 4 here, you keep 4 here. All of a sudden you look up and, you're halfway to 53, and you only keep 48 on a game day, right? You dress out 48. So, yeah, the number game is going to catch up really quickly. But thanks so much for that call, Alan. Definitely do appreciate you. Up next, got a text from Brent in Boston. What's up, Q? Brent from Boston checking in my annual what does a successful season look like from a statistical standpoint text. So here it goes. Quarterback room, 3,500 to 4,000 yards with 30 touchdowns, 15 interceptions, interception ratio 2-1. Halfbacks combined 2,000 yards with 15 touchdowns, 750 receiving yards. Wide receiver tight end group, 22 touchdowns with 1, maybe 2,000-yard receivers. Defensively, I think 35 to 40 sacks and 25 takeaways, but that includes fourth down stops. And special teams-wise, I'm going to speak it into existence. A kick return touchdown will happen this year. Not sure who will get the honor, but I do think it's going to happen this year. On a side note, can someone please tell Devonte to shut up about his time with the Raiders? He's quickly moving up the rankings of most hated former Raiders. Anyway, looking forward to a great season and building for the future. Appreciate all you do for Raider Nation and Raiders. That's Brent in Boston. And, I mean, yeah, those are reasonable numbers, actually. I mean, Geno threw for 4,000-plus yards in Seattle last year. The touchdown to interception ratio, I think it needs to be closer to 30 and less than 10, right? I mean, because he had, 20 and 15 last year. I think it needs to be around 30 and 10, and actually with less than 10 interceptions, right? You just got to be able to protect that ball. 2,000 yards rushing from the running back room, sure. Right, I could see that, right? Genty going for 1,200, 1,300 yards, something like that. And, this is going to be a team that's going to rely heavily on the run game. They've got Raheem Mostert. They've got Sincere McCormick. They've got Zamir White. I think that's a real healthy competition in that running back room. 35 to 40 sacks, 25 takeaways. Give me that. Give me those takeaways. That's what I want, right? That's exactly what I want. I'd like to see like 50 sacks, 50 sacks and 20 interceptions. I would like to see them get 20 interceptions, but the forced fumbles as well and fourth down stops, I'm good with that. But, man, those takeaways are something that drives me crazy. And, of course, your kick return touchdown, it's been since Jacoby Ford had a kick return touchdown since the Raiders did that. So that's been a very, very long time. I know Dwayne Harris did it on Denver against Denver, that Monday Night Football game. That was a punt return touchdown, but they haven't had a kick return touchdown since Jacoby Ford, and we all know how long that's been. It's been over, 15 years? So, yeah, it's about time that they do that. Thanks so much for the text. Definitely appreciate you. Up next, got a call from Mike in Simi Valley calling to talk about what he saw from Raiders mock game on Saturday. Here he is. Here's Mike.
Hey, Q. What's up, Raider Nation? This is Mike Video from Simi Valley. Just got home from Allegiant Stadium and the game. Just want to kind of go over a couple things I saw these last 2 days. Was at the practice yesterday and in the game today. Incredible experience. If you get the chance, please go ahead and make it out there. First thing is how great the offense has looked. My goodness. Yesterday, it seemed like Gino was able to make his way down the field at will against our defense. Today, I think he threw 4 touchdowns, 2 to Brock Bowers. Then he came in for the 2-minute drill at the end and hit Philip Dorsett on a nice long bomb. But he seemed like he had his way with the defense these last 2 days. So I guess I asked you, Q, was this a result of the offense being so much better than the defense, or just Chip Kelly just bringing the heat, man? We saw a lot of 12 personnel. I think this year, Brock Bowers and Mike Mayer, man, Big Mike, they're gonna have great seasons, man. So if you play fantasy football, make sure you get out there, you get Brock Bowers. His draft stock is soaring, man. That guy was catching everything and catching a lot of passes. Our tight ends are gonna have a great season going forward. Second thing I want to bring up is Dylan Lave. The kid is quick. He's agile. He turns on a dime. I saw him yesterday on special teams, in the running back sets. Again today, just making play after play. I guess I'll ask you this, Q. I know we say the backup behind Mostert is maybe a battle between Sincere and Zamir, but what about Dylan Lave? I mean, that kid can move. I was very impressed by what I saw today from today and yesterday from Dylan. That kid's going to be a great asset. And finally, what are your thoughts on Max? I saw Max lining up on the field goal unit today, the extra point units. He was our outside blocker. I don't know if it's just a training camp thing, or is that something that they're going to put into practice in the regular season? Overall, man, had a great time. Raider Nation, if you get a chance to get to training camp, do it. The interaction, I think my 14-year son, his first training camp ever, got, 14 autographs. The interaction was incredible. The hugs, the pictures, an absolutely incredible experience. I've never been more excited. Thanks for all you do, Q. Raider Nation, I love you. And as always, just win, baby.
Mike, thanks so much for the call. Appreciate you. And, yeah, the offense looks so much better under Chip Kelly. There's just rhyme or reason, man. The offense looks way better than what we saw. Like last year in Costa Mesa, I remember thinking that the defense was just going to be, top 5 because the offense just couldn't do anything. Well, obviously we found out the offense wasn't very good. And Luke Getsy was not a very good offensive coordinator. The quarterback play wasn't very good. There just was a lot of not very good when it came to this offense last year. It is way different this year, right? 12 personnel. We're actually going to see that this year. We saw it, as you mentioned, and I talked about it in segment number 2, but you mentioned it as well. Big Mike being heavily involved and him out there being healthy, looking like he's happy in a good place. I mean, this could be a big breakout year for Big Mike, and we've been waiting for that big breakout since he came into the league as a second-round pick out of Notre Dame. So we'd love to see that 12 personnel and really see it used this year. Dylan Lobby, man, I think he's going to have to make this team by way of special teams. I really do, and I know he does look fast. He's cutting and just he looks sharp. And, there was moments that he looked really good last year in training camp and OTAs and rookie mini camp and mandatory mini camp. He looked good, but never really got an opportunity in the regular season. But this running back room is so deep, I don't think that he's going to cut it in that room. I think he's going to have to, if he makes a team, he's going to have to make it by way of special teams. We'll see how it all plays out. But, I mean, it's 4 dudes in that room that it's like, man, who do you move on from, or do you keep all 4, right? It goes back to that numbers game I was talking about. Obviously, Genty's there, Mostert, Sincere McCormick, and Zamir White. I've had people suggest that maybe Mostert could be the odd man out. I don't see that. Right, he's a veteran. He's a guy that can cut his teeth on special teams as well. So I don't see him being a guy that's not there. But that's been suggested a couple times too, because this room is very talented, and both Zamir White and Sincere McCormick look really good. As far as Max as that outside blocker on extra points, it does seem like something that they're looking into. We actually asked special team coordinator Tom McMahon about that when he met with the media last week, and he said, look, we asked him if that's a camp thing or if that's something that they're considering. He said, look, we don't waste reps. So to me, when he answers that we don't waste reps, it's obviously something that they're looking into. So that is intriguing. Obviously, you don't want Max to get hurt out there, but you know, if they feel like that makes them that much better as having Max Crosby out there as a blocker, I would not be shocked at all to see them do that. Thanks so much for the call. Definitely appreciate you. Got time for a couple more. This one's from Raider Morpheus. His text. He says, hey, Q, Raider Morpheus here. After looking at Carroll's overall record against the coaches in the AFC West, plus the questions in the secondary, then examining the older linebackers we have, I think the Raiders will only win 6 or 7 games. The NFL schedule is more of a marathon, not a sprint. The teams with better depth and proven playmakers seem to make the playoffs every year. The Raiders will start September off strong, but by November, wins will be hard to come by. I know you have the Raiders at 8 or 9 wins, but I think the Raiders are still a year or 2 away from being a serious contender in the AFC. I do want to see how some of our new rookies pan out. If Tyree Wilson has some type of breakout year or Ashton Genty turns out to be better than I think, then maybe my thoughts will change. Max and Brock are our only playmakers. Teams have figured out how to neutralize Max. Brock will probably face more double teams this year. Sorry for the dreary perspective about the Raiders season. I hope I'm wrong. Anyways, go Raiders. Just win, baby. That's from Raider Morpheus. It's not okay. I mean, it's not okay. It's not a bad text. It's just your feelings. It's how you're feeling, and you broke it down and gave the reasons why. I think that they're going to be better than 6 or 7 wins. I think that they're going to be more competitive. I think they're going to compete every single game where you're not going to see them get blown out, right? You're not going to see them all of a sudden like that Carolina Panther game that happened, what was that, week 3 last year, where they just show up and don't do anything. Like the first drive, the Panthers went right down the field and you knew this game was over. That's a wrap, right? You already knew Andy Dalton was going to have his day, and he did, right? I don't think you're going to see any games like that where you're looking like, what in the world was that? You're not going to see that. Now, you know, the schedule's not easy. All right. Some of these playmakers that this Raiders team has, I think, have to definitely, you know, step up and show. But I think the offense is going to be better than most people expect. Chip Kelly as the offensive coordinator, I think, is very underrated. Ashton Genty in the run game, I believe, is going to be really solid, and that's going to open up everything else. But between Brock, Jacoby, Big Mike, Trey, that's another guy. I didn't even talk about him in segment number 2. Shame on me for that. Trey Tucker is a guy that's been getting heavily involved as well. Right. And I just want to see exactly how they plan on using him. I think he's a guy that you can get him the ball many different ways and let him use his speed. Thornton, I think, is going to be a guy that they use to stretch the field, but I don't expect a lot from him early because he's a rookie, right? Just like I don't expect a lot from Jack Besh early because he's a rookie. But, man, I think Trey Tucker has a chance to play a real role, right? So if you have Jacoby Myers out there, you have Brock out there, and you have Trey Tucker out there, you could do some things. Big Mike, you know, I mean, there's a lot of different things that you can do offensively. I feel like that this offense is going to be a lot better than a lot of people expect. So we'll see how it plays out. There's a reason why they go and play all the games, right? Plus, they got to stay healthy, right? The Raiders, that's one thing they don't have that you brought up, depth. They don't have a lot of depth. So if they start getting hit with the injury bug, it could be a long season. That's for sure. That's the results also of draft after draft after draft in previous years not being good, right? And so they've got to continue, and I feel like that they're on the right track right now, but these guys also have to step up, and a lot of guys are young. So thanks so much for the text. Definitely appreciate you. We'll close out with a call from Mikey the Barber from the 916. He's calling to talk about Devonte Adams and the fact that he keeps talking about the Raiders even though he's now 2 teams removed. Here he is, Mikey the Barber.
Yo, Q, what's up, man? It's Mikey the Barber. First, I wanted to start out by saying, you know, the wife and I are having our fourth baby in December. It's a boy. Just wanted to give you the good news. Also, I wanted to comment on the Devonte Adams hoe tour that he's been on against the Raiders. Man, the dude is like he's like a bitter ex-girlfriend who sees sees us doing the right things, having a good life without her. You know what I mean? Like, super salty, man. Like every time he gets on TV and talks about us, it's like, they're like subtle little digs, but it's like, you know that he's just miserable because of the fact that we're on the right track and he is getting hospital balls getting thrown at him by Jimmy G. He better pray that what's his name, Matthew Stafford can get healthy, because if he's got Jimmy G going into the season with him, he's gonna be effed. But yeah, man, I'm tired of seeing it, man. And it's crazy coming from a guy who like grew up being a Raider fan, talking so much crap about, his former team and his childhood team that he's always wanted to play with. Like, him doing that and saying things about the organization shows you what kind of character the dude has. You know what I mean? Like, he's not a good guy, man. A lot, I remember hearing you saying on Friday's podcast that, he shot it to you guys straight. But I mean, this seems like to me like he's like one of those guys that talks quote unquote, a straight shooter, but still talks shit behind someone's back. You know what I mean? Like, he has that illusion of him being authentic when, he thinks a whole nother thing, which is kind of stupid, man. And he's really up there with 86 Raiders and Raider Nation, ex-Raiders that do not fall in the category of once a Raider, always a Raider. He's up there with Randy Moss to me. You know what I mean? Like, I can't get behind the dude, man. Just stop talking about us. Just stop. You don't have to talk about us. It's over. You're a LA Lamb now. Okay? So go ahead and, finish off the rest of your career and, bye-bye. Good riddance. Thanks, Q. Keep doing what you're doing. Raiders!
Big Mike right there. Thanks for the call. Congratulations on baby number 4. And I'll say, you'll have to correct me on this if I'm wrong. I feel like at least 3 of the babies you've had since you've been listening to this show. So I'm just saying, you're going to have to start calling me Uncle Q at some point, right? I think 3 of these babies that you've had and you and your wife have had now have come since you've been listening to this show. And I started back in 2018. So, I mean, you got a nice run going, man. So go ahead and congratulations on the baby on the way, though. That's really cool. As far as Devonte, look, I get it. He had a bad experience with the Raiders. Fine. I get it. But he is going out of his way now, as you mentioned, to just continue to talk about the Raiders and try to fire shots at them. And it's one thing when it's just your ex team, but now it's your ex team, right? I mean, you're 2 teams removed now from being with the Silver and Black. And like you said, he always was a straight shooter with me, always seemed like, he was a stand-up dude. But again, we don't know these guys more than what they allow us to know, right? And I will never act like me and Devonte had some kind of great relationship and we chop it up all the time. Never would act like that. Like, I feel like I have a really good relationship with Jacoby Myers. I really do, right? Like, know him really well, right? But Devonte is just, locker room interactions, whatever, podium interactions, and he always seemed to be pretty stand up. But man, he's trying to wear Raider Nation out, ain't he? So yeah, he's definitely going to get on that list pretty quickly of guys like you mentioned, Randy Moss and others that aren't really necessarily the ones you think of when you say once a Raider, always a Raider. But Mikey, thanks so much for that call again. Definitely appreciate you. And again, congrats on the baby on the way. Matt, you know what? Let me go ahead and close this out. We'll do one more. Raider Nation Mason out to 406. Hey, what's up, Q? It's Raider Nation Mason out to 406. Just had a non-Raider question for you. I'm going through high school now, going into my junior year. I'm really interested in pursuing a career in sports broadcasting. Listening to your shows daily really inspires me, really inspires this thought, just with how much you show you love your job. And I was wondering, going into these last couple years of high school, should I be trying to take a certain class or go to certain colleges to help with that goal? And real quick, Raider question. How's my boy Touchdown Tommy doing at camp? Thanks, Q. Love what you do. Peace. That's Raider Nation Mason out to 406. Yeah, there's so many ways to do it. Thanks for the compliments. I do appreciate that. There's a lot of different ways to do it. You can go and take classes, communication classes, and get involved like that. I just happened to go and get an internship at a radio station way back in the day at Wild 94.9 in the Bay Area, and that's a music station. And that's how I got my foot in the door. And then I just went from there and just grind, make a lot of good relationships, listen to people when, they tell you how to do things, show you how to do things. But yeah, there's a lot of different ways to do it. So if you can go through some classes and learn the communication side of things and the industry and how to get involved in the broadcasting side of things that way, it's probably a little bit, I don't want to say easier, but it probably makes a lot more sense. So, but then there's, like I said, there's other ways to do it as well. So it's not just one way to get where I'm at right now. And I'm not where I need to be, right? I got a lot that I still am working on the daily. So, there's, like I said, there's just a lot of different things. But anytime I guess I can help out, if there's something I can do to help out, definitely reach out and ask. I do. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to help out any way I can. As far as Touchdown Tommy goes, I mean, he's a guy that kind of like Dylan Lobby. He's going to make this team by way of special teams as far as I'm concerned. He hasn't really popped as a wide receiver, but remember, he's making the transition from quarterback to wide receiver. So I think that he's going to have a learning curve that he's going to have to go through. Special teams, I saw him doing some kick return on Saturday at the mock game. That's positive. That's really where he's going to be able to really butter his bread. Special teams. So really work on that, and then that can continue to evolve your game. It's almost like we're talking about broadcasting. Just get your foot in the door. Yeah, Touchdown Tommy just needs to get his foot in the door, and then he can learn from there. Once you're in, you're in. Then you've got, you got the keys to the castle, and you can go and do whatever you want. And you can learn everything, but you got to get your foot in the door first. And so that's what Touchdown Tommy is working to do right now. So that's going to do it for today's show. Again, practice is at 10 o'clock today. I don't know if it's going to be indoors or not, but of course we'll have everything, full recap of what goes on, as this is a game week with the Seattle Seahawks coming up on Thursday. Also, we've got the Raiders Squad Show, Chantel Chan, Lincoln Kennedy, and myself. That'll be at 7:30 a.m., 7:30 to 8:30. It's a live stream, so we'll have plenty of Raider talk as well there. Appreciate everyone who chimes in on that show. It's a lot of fun as well. So until tomorrow, Raider Nation, take care of yourself, take care of your family, love on your family. Most importantly, as always, just win, baby.